Commander Bly. We've got company. Friendlies? Negative, sir. A droid ship. Coming straight our way.
This episode was directed by Stuart Lee, who is a huge Hong Kong action movie fan, and he was adamant that by the time that the Folian tank showed up, that we would have some sort of big, epic action scene.
Droids inbound. We've got 8 minutes tops.
You can always tell when Stu has directed an episode because people don't just fight. Everyone sort of gets to strike a pose and do at least one cool move per fight. It was the first time that we really saw Ayla let loose and just sort of start taking people out.
One thing that we had to be cautious of was we felt there were an overload of episodes early on in the series where Grievous or Ventress were being defeated. And really quickly you can run into a scenario where you're taking away the threat that these characters hold by having them lose all the time. So if we had to do a lot of situations where the good guys won, we wanted to make sure that there were different generals, different characters that could pay a penalty and get captured or have to escape, instead of it always being General Grievous. That actually led to the creation of a whole new general.
What menace have you brought to our village now, Jedi?
I am General Lockdurd of the Separatist Alliance.
Lockdurd the Nemoidian was the third major Nemoidian design. The second one was actually Martuk, who doesn't appear now until the end of the season. He was designed before Lockdurd. And Martuk has a similar shape to New Gunray. So when we got to Lockdurd, we sort of consciously decided, was there a way to change the silhouette of a Nemoidian and just give them a different shape? And we decided that going with a sort of really big, heavy, rolly guy with an even bigger hat than New Gunray's would work. It would sort of sell that this guy was extremely flamboyant and very bossy and even more gluttonous than your average Nemoidian.
I would like to inspect my new colony. Ransack this dung heap.
Lockdurd was designed before we knew George Takei was going to do the voice, which just adds to the whole thing because the voice and that design work extremely well together.
I have located a world in which we can test our new weapon.
Really, the first time I met George was actually at the Clone Wars record, and I showed him the character design, and he remarked, once again I've been cast fat. I must have a very fat voice. Oh my.
He's always pontificating to all the battle droids, who sort of seem to sort of put up with it or maybe enjoy it, I don't know. But there's this one moment where they pull up in their tanks, they're about ready to raid this town, and he starts going off again.
When Count Dooku sees how successful my weapon is against...
I'm going to be promoted, I'm going to be the best, whatever.
As he's talking to all these, automatons.
I will no doubt be promoted to a more substantial position.
So the next cut is to the battle droid who was just supposed to point and say, go, or whatever it was. So there was a bit of a pause before he points, so Matt throws in...
Okay, right.
So, because it's just so funny, like sometimes you think like, do the droids really care about what is going on with, I mean, do they have their own self-motivation, or are they just like controlled, automatons? It's kind of funny.
One of the things that we had tried before on other planets was to sort of give you rolling hills, so it wasn't just this very flat surface. We really wanted to try and push the notion that there was terrain here, and all of the grasslands were designed by Jackson Z. And the skies that you see in the background in the episode are also painted by Jackson and then mapped onto a sky dome. So this kind of is the Jackson episode. I mean, the initial designs for the Lurman were also done by Jackson. His fingerprints are all over this show. It just looks like his artwork. And it's really nice when certain things, just by coincidence, all end up in the same episode by the same artist, because it gives it a flavor which is really nice.